In this episode of the Exploring Information Security Podcast, Hands-on Hacking.
Computers now have primary control of critical functions.
Houston, recommend vector transfer.
Your go for APU shutdown on time.
Roger, go for deploy.
Nice to be in orbit.
Welcome to the Exploring Information Security Podcast, where you will learn, explore, and grow your security mindset. I'm your host, Timothy D. Bluck, and in this episode, we will be exploring hands-on hacking. With me to do that is James Gillkey, the trainer for hands-on hacking, which will be at ShowMeCon, June 6th through the 8th. Show notes can be found at exploresec.com/EIS. Feedback for the show, hit me up, timothy.dbluck@exploresec.com. You can also reach out to me on LinkedIn or rate it on your favorite podcast platform. That really helps grow the show so you can be a part of the rocket ship that is ExploreSec. Need to find a better analogy. I don't think rocket, I guess going into space exploring. Anyways, getting distracted. ShowMeCon is the conference that is sponsoring a lot of these podcasts. We are going through some of the trainings and the speakers. It's one of my favorite conferences every year. I plan on it to go to. It went last year. It was a great restart for a conference that had been kind of shut down for the last 5 years due to COVID. So really excited for it this year, and they are adding training for this year. That's why we're doing a podcast on hands-on hacking. So getting to hear me and James kind of talk about it. We talk about some of the concepts around hacking and kind of what you'll expect from the course. So it is a 3-day course. You can go to showmecon.com and click on the training agenda, and then you can sign up there. If you do end up signing up for the course, I can save you $50 if you put in Exploring Sec in the promo code. So it's $50 off, and then you also get a free ticket to the conference itself. So yeah, go check that out. The venue will be at Ameristar Casino Resort. It is during the summer. And if you reserve by April 24th, it's $189 a night. Bring the whole family. Bring the spouse, bring the kids, bring the dog. I have no idea if they allow dogs, so you might want to double check that. But bring the whole family. It's a great time. St. Louis is a great city. There's a lot of free stuff out there. We'll be in St. Charles, which is on the west side of town. And, you know, again, it'll be a great time. So I'm really looking forward to it. Again, this was a good episode to talk with James about kind of a revitalization of the hands-on hacking course, which had been done before, but he went and he's putting in a lot of time to update it. So much so that he gave a shout out to his family for kind of putting up with him, putting it back together. So I'm really excited to see what the course becomes. I'm trying to be there a little bit early to, just kind of drop in, see what's going on with the course and some of the other ones that we've either already talked about on the podcast or we're planning to in the future. So not really much else to say, but let's get into the podcast. So outside of mic problems, how are you?
Doing okay. Trying to get the lab environment set up and get everything squared away, and then red team exercises at the corporate job. So always a fun time.
Yeah, it keeps you busy. I get it.
Yeah.
Have you done this training before?
No, this is a new one.
Okay.
This is a revamp of the hands-on hacker class that they used to have back in the day. So, it's good training. Dave handed me his materials and he was like, hey, I want you to take this and get this revamped. So that's exactly what I did. I looked at it and I was like, all right, these are some old practices. I love seeing those. We're going to touch on those a little bit, but we're going to move into some new stuff. Back in the day, there was labs in there for doing the rainbow tables, right? Stuff like that. A lot of older stuff. There was Armitage in there, which I haven't used in quite some time, probably since I was training on it. So I looked at it and I was like, some of this needs replaced. We're doing a lot more GitHub tools now. We need to look at virtual environments and making sure that we are separating our tools so that way they're not stomping on each other due to their dependencies. Just some new best practices.
Have you found that like the virtual is a lot, like I feel like back in the day it was a little bit like you could get it done, but it's a lot more difficult. I feel like today's like getting up virtual environments and kind of sandboxing and, playing around in a playground, essentially a hacker's playground, is a lot easier than it was several years ago.
Yeah, the configs used to be way more difficult to do. I got to be honest, they just did a pip update, so I don't actually completely understand the changes in that. But pip 3 is not working fantastically anymore. Pip X is supposed to do the job, and it's not. So the short version, yeah, it's way easier now to be able to set up your virtual environment. Now it's getting a little bit more difficult to use pip correctly with their latest rollout.
So what's pip? Remind me what that is.
Oh God, is the I don't remember the acronym, but it's how you install Python tools.
Yeah, Python is kind of what I was getting at. It's something for Python. So are you guys using Python manually then for a lot of that stuff, or?
Absolutely, yeah. It's Python virtual environments all the way across the board. Very simple. You typically we're going to download our Git directory, jump into that, create our virtual environment, set it to the source, so that way we don't install anything outside of this window. And then you've got that little isolated sandbox for your tool to run in. And it keeps it from breaking any of the other main stuff that you might need outside of that environment.
Yeah, Python, I feel like is kind of like a hacker's companion, right? It's because, like you said, it's easy to learn and you can do a lot of stuff. I didn't realize you could virtualize an entire environment. I guess that's the setup of it all is what you're using for the Python for?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So I've had my own issues with getting a bunch of the tools to run, especially whenever you start mixing in like Golang based stuff. Project Discovery has an amazing suite of tools, but they require a specific setup in order for them to work correctly, is what I found. So this actually comes from best practices in my life of I need to create just this little micro sandbox over here for this tool to live in so it doesn't break anything else.
Yeah, I feel like even just getting like an environment set up, there's a lot to be learned from a hacking perspective. Just in general, it's like a lot of troubleshooting. I tell people too, like if you want to get into pen testing, prepare to bang your head against the wall over and over and over again until you find the problem or get the solution.
Yeah, I will notify our SOC team whenever I'm about to launch an engagement, right? Hey guys, I'm about to go scan whatever it happens to be. I'm doing an exfil, whatever. And then 45 minutes later, after I've worked out all the kinks in my tools to get the attack set back up, then I'm finally moving. So it's forever.
Yeah. Well, it's part of the gig, though, right? So are you just focusing then on tools or like techniques or methodology? Like what's all in the course that people are going to learn?
Whenever I was talking to Dave about this, the idea was that we want people that maybe haven't touched pen testing before to be able to walk out of the course, able to do as much pen testing as possible. So the idea for it is we're following, some of the basic methodologies, pizzas, OSS, TMM, all of the classics, the hits, to get you running as quickly as possible. We start off with the OSINT and the recon, what information can you get? We're going to do some external analysis type stuff, internal, focusing on MTLM, pass the hash, stuff like that, some web app. We only have 3 days to try to get through everything. I'm going to do password cracking and some password spraying and stuff like that. But my idea is to give you no fluff, the essentials that you need in order to be, the class ends on Sunday. Monday morning, I want you with the ability to be able to start. Well, maybe Wednesday because we got the con, but Wednesday, I want you hacking.
Yeah. Well, the question is, are you also going through like some of the do's and don'ts, like as far as, because just going back to your organization and starting to hack stuff could end up being a big problem.
Yeah. Planning is a big part of it. If you're getting into the industry, then it's probably just the basics of this is how you do all the things, right? But if you are working in a corporate environment and you're on a red team or you're part of the pen testing team and you need to be communicating these to leadership, we go over how to do that as well. Make sure that you've got your plan. You tell them what you're going to do so that way nobody gets caught off guard. Because I've had plenty of SOC people yelling at me like, hey, can you just tell us when you're going to do this? Because all the fire alarms started going off and we freaked out.
So I do. It's always interesting. There's always that balance when you're talking about doing an engagement and the who needs to be notified, right? Because you do want to kind of sometimes test your SOC, but the problem with telling everybody too, it's like the Coke machine's not working, and everyone's like, "Oh, that must be the pen test." And you're like, "That I'm not. Why would I hack a vending machine?"
Right. Yeah, no. So typically you're going to have your SOC leadership, and that's who we work with. And they will at times say, hey, we've got this new thing that we noticed. We want you to test it in the environment. Yeah. We're not going to notify the SOC that this is occurring, so that way we can see what they're monitoring. And then we just do that back and forth. Hey, I ran this test. Did you guys see it? No. Here's some regex that you might want to filter on in order to be able to see what kind of attacks we're doing. Let's get those into the log so that way, the whole point of the red team is to help make the blue team better, right? So that is most of what I'm doing now. Before that, I was on all web app testing. So, but yes, back to the original point, notifying the leader of the stock and your red team and probably a tier above them what you're going to be doing. And if you need to be quiet about it, you just don't tell the stock and then see what they do.
Yeah. So you mentioned it, web app. What else are you doing? What are some of the other things people learn as far as like the areas of hacking?
So doing the general recon, right, and hitting the major hits on those as well, doing Nmap. I want to get more into the NSE, the Nmap, whatever engine it is, so that way people are digging out the info they need for, their findings. Essentially, this is for doing pen tests, right?
Well, so like, are you doing like mobile then, or are you doing, just kind of Kali, networking? You mentioned password cracking, but like what all is entailed as far as like the domains of hacking?
Yeah, so you've got your, the generics. We got the recon stuff. We're going to do the basic stuff, showing them DNS dumpster and Shodan, those kinds of things. Doing your scans, the information that you can pull out of that, looking at your TLS certificates. We're going to pivot probably day one. We will do recon and username enumeration, password cracking, using hash ID in order to be able to define what the hashes are in case you're not sure. You can also punch those into hashcat, and they should tell you what it is. And then, mostly hashcat. We've got the one rule to rule them all mangling rule that was put out by, the Rapture, Sean Peterson. That's what it was. And I believe that he developed that whenever he was working for Parameter. So that thing is still in place, still being used. So we'll use that for trying to crack them. We will more than likely use Hydra to show people what password spraying looked like, and then we might switch over to Mail Sniper in order to be able to do some username enumerations.
Do you do any then like phishing or anything, or is this just strictly kind of you're already in the environment?
Phishing tools, I've not been fantastic at getting any of the open source stuff to work. I know there are plenty of companies that do that. That is not a domain that I've gotten into, and we have a short time to get through a bunch of stuff. So phishing is probably not going to be a big one. We're just going to jump straight into assumed breach.
Well, I feel phishing is kind of it's out there. You got all these different platforms nowadays. Like usually when we run our pen tests at the companies I've been at, it's like, well, we know you guys can get in, right? Because we phish our users on a regular basis, so we know you'll probably get credentials. There's a good chance you can get in. So, like you said, we'll just we do like a check on the outside, and then we kind of check. We just give them into the network and let them go do what they got to do to find the risks, right?
Yep, likewise. Yeah, internally we have phishing engagements done on our company, and then we will take what they've done and not have to re-replicate it. We're just like, all right, those people click on the fish. Let's go target their credentials.
Yeah, exactly. How much are you teaching like living off the land? Because I feel like that's become like the new buzzword within the industry.
Yeah, so there's some of that after we do the post-X. The idea with NTLM is for us to be able to capture those hashes, relay them to the target, authenticate, and then you get in and you start dumping information. The idea is we want to try to get to a DC so that way we can dump that DAT file and be able to get all of the credentials. And I still have a lot of fake users that I need to be able to create in the system so that way we can pull all of those creds. But I'm trying to come up with something, ridiculous that fits into the ShowMeCon theme this year. To be able to put information in there for the video game guys. I think the theme is supposed to be based off of the Fallout series. Is that still what Dave's going with?
Yeah. That's what he told me, unless he's pivoted. But yeah, it's Fallout this year.
All right. Well, yeah, that's the idea. Get in, get the credentials, find out what else you can get into. We're going to do some vuln scanning in the environment just so that people understand how to run Nessus in case they've never touched that part. Typically what I've seen is that the threat and vulnerability management teams are split from the pen testers, but we still work with them and use their tools all the time. So, just giving everybody the general. If you don't use it, that's fine, but at least you know how to. Yeah,
getting some exposure. It sounds like a really great course for people that are pretty newer to the field or newer to pen testing is what it sounds like. But yeah, getting exposed, because sometimes that's the thing too. You I ran a pen test team, and the juniors come in, and then or the newer people to the field come in, and they're like, oh, I get to do all this cool stuff. It's like, now go tech this dumb thing for me. Right. And so they don't, and it can kind of be different based on different organizations because, they have different threat models and different things that you're not necessarily going to do with. Like we did password cracking, but I have not always seen organizations that do password cracking. I think it's one of the more interesting things that you can do.
Yeah. I completely agree. I think a lot of times comes down to the resources. We've got David Vaughn is a guy who has run the Lockpick Village for ShowMeCon and, like you said, St. Louis in the past. He wanted to be able to get a cracking grid set up at work, but with the AWS configs and the way that we needed to do it, they were like, that's just too heavy. It's too cost consuming for us to be able to justify. And he did Chomps is the tool that he had built, and he had presented that at a previous ShowMeCon. So it's the same tool, just with better graphics cards for cracking.
So I guess what for you, and I know you're just rebuilding it, but what makes this class unique to some of the other ones that you've either run or you've attended?
I'm hoping that the efficiency is going to be a big indicator. I don't want to spend a lot of time going over stuff that we don't need. Looking at the industry, and there's still a need for a bunch of us, and there's needs for new people to come in, so the guys that have been around can step into other roles and start building different tools and doing whatever they want to do. So I want efficiency to be key. I want you to come in and get the tools that you need, understand how to execute them, and be able to take that back on day one, start running that in your company's. I am, like I said, I got the older version of the course that had some of the old stuff in it, and I am I'm not a great historian on hacker culture, but I love where it originated. So I want to be able to show you this is what we used to do, and this was amazing. And then Microsoft started salting hashes, so now we have to do it this way. You kind of show the before and after. This is where we came from, and this is the trajectory.
I think that's good too, because you can kind of show what big companies, because that's their cat and mouse game, is fixing what hackers are doing and trying to defend against it. And I do think part of what makes pen testers really good is if they know how to provide actionable guidance that makes sense. Because also there are scenarios in a company where it's we got to go fix this, but if you fix this, you're going to break a multi-million-dollar part of the business that now you have to provide. You can't fix it the way you want. You have to provide mitigating recommendations for it.
Right. Yeah, like SMB signing, you need to be able to turn that off. Yeah. Otherwise the TMLA is going to work all day long. Yeah, that kind of stuff. I go into that of NTLM has even expanded since the guy at Reg Siege put out Kerber roasting, right? SMB is getting blocked, so we're using other tools that are focused on IPv6 in order to be able to get the hashes. It's just that cat and mouse, like you said. This tool worked for a while until they put this patch in, and now this other thing works. So we just keep playing the circle. Yeah,
for sure. So is the class kind of all attacking one server that they're all kind of sharing, or is it more of a localized exercise when they're trying some of this stuff out?
So based on the training classes that I've taken in the past and some of the issues that I've seen, I'm going to have the server stood up in the classroom for people to be able to attack, but also a copy of it for them to bring down locally in case they're having network issues or what have you. I'm building all of this on a pretty hefty box, so most people, whenever they come in, may not have the RAM on their laptops to be able to do it. That's why I was hosting the server internally as well.
So you bring in hardware then to the classroom, and you're going to set it up on that. That could be. Are you going to name it the Gibson or something?
Why not? Let's do that.
Or whatever. I don't know if there's a Fallout theme that you could do associated with it, but
there probably is. The domain that we're attacking is Vault-Tec, which is the core of the game, and I'm going to lose a lot of my nerd cred by saying that I haven't played the Fallout series, so I don't understand the lore.
I'm with you, man. I haven't played it either. I have a lot, Dave's one of them, and I've got another buddy that's just absolutely, bonkers for the game. And so I'm with you. I'm not going to understand any sort of references that are going to be this year.
I think there was a time in history where the roads converged or diverted, whatever the right term is, and some people went with Fallout and other people walked the Borderlands path, and I was definitely the former.
I was neither one. So I've heard every person that has played one of those games has told me I need to play that game, right? So and maybe that's what I need to do is go find a Steam sale and just start playing some of the fall so I get some of the references.
Yeah, absolutely. I bought the third one so that way I could get back to the what I think is the core. So that way I just understand,
some of the references. Yeah, sure. Come out. Yeah.
I asked my friend, I was like, can you just give me the gist of this, like the cliff notes? And he was like, no, that's far too in depth. Go buy a game.
I mean, they have the Amazon series now. I wonder if I could just watch that stuff because I heard that's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if it stays true to the lore, and then you get into that thing where everybody loves the game and hates the show, and it just derails.
They didn't put this reference in. Yeah. So it's, us nerds are some of the worst. What are some of the prerequisites as far as coming to the course? Like, what should people bring or have already?
I'm going to try to make the virtual machines available to download before the course, so that way you can get those pulled down. All of the course materials will be available the day of. And honestly, you just need a laptop that's got a decent laptop to be able to run your VM locally. At a bare minimum, people are going to have the Kali box running on their machine. And I think I've given that, 120 gigs of storage and like 12 gigs of RAM. I don't have any intention on you needing to use all of that, but I made the boxes beefy from a base level because with VMs, if you create that Kali drive too small, it is a nightmare to expand it. And I've been doing a lot of cloud testing stuff lately, so pulling Docker images that are massive, and I've had to do a couple of my own rebuilds. It's been a nightmare. But prerequisites, what do you need to bring? Caffeine for sure, and a good rig. That should be it.
What about as far as like skill sets? Or it sounds like maybe you want to understand a little bit about Python, or
no, not even necessary. The stuff that we're going to show you, you don't have to have a background in. It's great if you do, but we're not getting too heavy in that. We go through the trouble of and I'm not sure if I'm going to keep this in the course material yet. I might mix it depending on time, but we break down, TCP and the handshake and the protocols and ICMP. We give you the core of networking, so that way you understand what you're doing. But the idea is you probably need to have touched a terminal. You probably need to know what that is and be able to at least do some of the basic networking commands. After that, we should be able to get you where you need to go.
Like IP config?
Yeah. Splash because your server's going to be screwed up. Yeah.
How much are you leveraging AI, or how useful do you feel AI is for this?
I think that if you're not using AI in our field anymore, then you're going to fall behind.
Yeah.
What's the newest thing that I've seen? Everybody's doing their coding sessions on X, vibe coding, right? Where you're just making stuff with the AI. Yeah, there are far too many out there that you can leverage usefully. The argument was, are you actually doing your job if you're using AI? And yeah, you're doing it. It's just faster. I could make a script that does all different kinds of commands for me, and you're not going to have a problem with that. But I use somebody else's script that gives me an answer, and now I'm cheating. I'm not sure that that's the right mindset for it. I work with a couple of different groups, just clowning around and doing, old school culture hacker type stuff, just testing with stuff. And everybody is leveraging AI in some capacity. So I think that at this point, there still needs work, but it's going to be in our toolbox. It has to be.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Like, I remember if I needed like a script or something from GitHub and I needed to create it from scratch, it's like, well, if I needed to create a script from scratch, I would go to GitHub to see if someone had already like made some sort of script, so I don't have to start from scratch. I at least have a starting point and I can adjust it. But yeah, like you, I don't do pen testing, but I could totally see it being useful. I do metrics for my boss, and it used to take 2 days when I first started it. I've gotten it down to 2 to 3 hours, and that's entirely because I went to ChatGPT and had to write me some PowerShell scripts to go pull and do all the metrics I needed in a short period of time. So I totally see the same thing with pen testing, right? Do you cover any of that in the course, like use of AI and how to use it?
Lightly. It's toward the end. Again, what we're looking for is with the tools that we have, there's not a great deal that AI is going to be able to help you with. But if you needed to spin up a fresh script, like what you were talking about, like all of a sudden you need a script that's going to go and network this out because Nmap is blocked or mass scan is blocked, whatever it happens to be. well, then I can quickly hop into the AI and just have it spin up a bash network ping script. So that way I can run through and see what systems are alive and then dig into it further. So it doesn't play into every tool, but it does play into whenever you hit a stuck spot. All right, how can I pivot around this?
Gotcha. Yeah. I can see that. Anything else you want to mention about the course?
Not in particular. I don't think I'm supposed to give away too many of the secrets. We are going to focus heavily on, the recon, external testing, internals, and then web app stuff, right? And I'm going to pull in some of the API information. I know that we've got a couple other web app courses that are going to be training on Saturday and Sunday, so I'm going to try not to overlap on the content they're doing, but we're going to breeze through Burp Suite and show you all the different things that can do with a vulnerable web app. So we'll have another server set up somewhere. It probably will be joined to the name, but that's going to depend on the vulnerable stuff that I get installed. So we shall see there. But at the end of it, we're going to go through a bunch of the other tools that we don't necessarily get to cover in the course, but other different hacking domains that you should be aware of. So we'll run through and talk about full apps and the difference between Android and iOS and the different tools that you could use for testing that. I can't go into detail on these things, but I don't want you to walk away without us touching on the topic that you were interested in. So we've got some stuff on IoT, how does all of this relate to bug hunting? If you don't work in your company's red team section, then how could you take these skills and apply it somewhere else and, try to start making some extra money? Talk about physical pen tests some, a little bit of social engineering, phishing, and cloud, just to go over those quickly. And I'm a resource hound and a resource hoarder, so I want to give as much of that away as I can. I found all of these tools. Here's the list. Please take it and go do independent research.
Yeah, that's a skill set that I don't think is talked about. I mean, it's talked about a little bit, but for pen testers, it's like you have to have some sort of research, I guess, skill set or whatever, right? You have to be willing to go dive into essentially reading the document, right, to understand how things work, so that so you can see how it's intended to be used, and then think about like how you can actually break it.
Yes, absolutely, completely agree.
So, I'm just out of curiosity, because you said cloud hacking and you said you're going to touch on that. Like, how is that different from getting into a network? Like, I guess, what are some of the nuances of like hacking a cloud environment?
A lot of it is not as straightforward as I would have hoped. So I went from getting trained on how to do the network stuff, right, and then straight into cloud. And I thought, all right, these are domain environments. It should be pretty similar. No, the entire tool stack is completely different, and a lot of it is chaining your attacks together. So you're running your recon scan, and then you're filtering that out all on the same command to be able to get just the info you want to string it into another one, which might be Nabu or nuclei. So you're taking your recon and running it right into another vuln scanner, and then you're outputting that into something else, and it's just the attack chain is so much longer. And then the output is not always as intuitive as you wish it was. So I'm staring at this giant JSON like, I don't know what any of this information is.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Lambda and, all that fun.
Yeah. Getting into triggering the Lambda so that way you might be able to get credentials or something. It has been a chaotic mess. And I've been trying to get the tools to work. It has not. I don't feel like I actually I could speak educated, I'm informed, but I can't speak eloquently to that yet. I would never step and be like, I'm going to go teach a cloud training. I don't have that yet.
Yeah, well, I don't know that I've seen or heard a lot of people talking about like hacking the cloud a whole lot, other than essentially finding open AWS buckets, right? That to me, that's probably the biggest, probably one of the easier ones to look for, is just scan the environment, see what's actually out there.
Yeah, so the scanning is pretty simple. We did an attack surface mapping attack to see, attack, whatever it is, mapping the attack surface. There we go. My brain will work one of these days. Just to see what our entire footprint looked like. And I was like, wow, there are a lot of things that we need to address here. I think that whenever you get into deploying, especially if you're working with people that don't know exactly what they're doing, and I'm not saying this about our team, I'm just saying how I can see this coming up, you unintentionally create cloud instances or pieces that you didn't necessarily mean to, And then those become susceptible because this is a spinoff. Somehow this got left over here. We forgot about it and we didn't put in some security control. So now that's vulnerable. See a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah, that or over provisioned accounts. Like I've seen that just rampant within because a lot of times I found like security wasn't even like it's often for me, it was spun up by developers. Because like you said, like when you go into that environment, it's entirely different. So system administrators, unless they're like a specific cloud engineer, it's like going from the data center to the cloud is just two entirely different things. And so like essentially these cloud environments have been spun up either by startups or by like developers, and they don't know how to manage, accounts other than set it up and give it the same permissions as this last person. So security comes in and it's like, oh yeah, hey, everyone's got domain admin and no MFAs on it.
Yeah, and it is fast-paced. I've seen so many engineers that work on cloud stuff and they're trying to show me what they're doing, and I feel decent at what I do. I'm a pretty humble guy.
Yeah.
But I feel equipped enough, and they are just blowing through their command line and switching from this page to that and showing me all these things that I don't understand.
Yeah.
And you see the issue here? And I'm like, no, I don't.
It's all coding, man. That's a lot of it is just, functions and other stuff so you have to have kind of a little bit of that developer mindset to really understand some of the cloud stuff.
Yeah, for sure. And understand how it all ties together and which parts you can use to break others.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So cool. Any last thoughts or comments? Anything you want to plug?
Oh, anything I want to plug? Yeah, sure, because I know that my family is going to be listening to this to see how much of a fool I made out of myself. Probably first, I got to thank my wife and my little hacking teenager, the Red Panda, for giving me the time to be able to actually put this thing together and do this with Dave. I love ShowMeCon. I've been happy to be there as a volunteer. I was honored when Dave asked me to get involved and do the training, so I was like, all right, this is cool. I love working with you guys. Other than that, as far as plugs, I got to shout out the DC30 crew. I'm in this group called the Society of Shenanigans with the Heathen Hacker. Did you meet Sidef way back in the day?
I may have. I've been around. I got that great beer going, so I may have run across him. It doesn't ring a bell. But maybe. Last year, we conned JC Carruthers into going to dinner with us at the bar that used to be Parameter's office on Main Street in St. Charles. Yeah. And then for some reason, we decided we didn't want to use the front door, so we climbed over the back fence, and everybody just about got skewered climbing over the gating. And I didn't know if you were with us or not, but at any rate, SciDef is now the Heathen Hacker, and we got Nixie, who are all part of the society, and we were in the middle of building a DEFMON video game to be on our badges at the next DEF CON. So nice.
It is spoof off of Pokemon, and I don't know how many details I'm actually allowed to disclose on this. We did a game last year that was all right. We're building it on the Game Boy engine this year. So yeah, we got some stuff in store. We're excited to be able to put something entertaining and hopefully educational out there as well.
Yeah, oh, that's awesome. I appreciate that. All right, James. Well, appreciate you coming on and talking about the hands-on hacking course that you're putting on. It sounds really awesome. I am probably going to come into town, so I'll probably stop by and come cut it up a little bit and just see kind of how things are going. But looking forward to also catching up at ShowMeCon. Like everyone I talk to on this, it's like they're just you tell in their voice they're so excited that the conference is coming around again and that it's actually back. So looking to catch up, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Likewise. And I'm probably ended up bringing the family to town so that way they can experience that free zoo and stuff as well. Like, we're St. Louis natives, but we had moved. So me coming back to teach this for multiple days is like bringing the caravan. The whole family's coming back.
Oh, I do the same thing. I actually got on Dave last year for having it in May when my family wasn't out because my wife was ticked that the kids were still in school and we couldn't pull them out for 2 days. But we're doing the same thing. I'm bringing the whole family into town. We'll go check out St. Louis and enjoy the conference.
Yeah, it's a great time. It's a great area. A lot of fun. So I'm excited. I am happy to see you whenever we get there. I'm going to be stepping out until then, trying to get all these left.
Yeah. Well, good luck with that.
Appreciate it.
All right, man.
All right. Take care.